The arrival the Starship floated through the endless black ocean of space, its silver surface shining like a lonely moon. Inside it, humans and aliens walked side by side, their voices low, their steps careful. Nobody wore clothes here, not even the highest commander. It was the rule of the ship, the strange and shocking law that all newcomers had to obey. When the humans first entered, they felt exposed. Their skin felt cold under the artificial lights. Their eyes avoided one another. Some tried to cover themselves with their hands, but there was nowhere to hide. The aliens, however, walked with calm confidence, their colorful skin patterns glowing faintly under the ship's soft blue lights. Commander Valek, an alien with tall horns and bright red eyes, raised his hand. His voice was deep and calm. "Welcome, travelers. You are aboard the ship called Truth Seeker. Here, all species live without clothes. Here, no one hides anything. The body is open, and so is the soul." The humans exchanged nervous glances. Dr. Arya Stone, a human scientist, whispered to her companion, "This is madness. How can a rule like this keep order?" But her friend, Lieutenant Harris, shook his head slowly. "Maybe it works for them. Maybe we should listen before we judge." The corridors of the Starship stretched endlessly, glowing with veins of blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The air smelled faintly metallic. Every sound echoed footsteps, breaths, whispers. The ship itself felt alive, as if it was watching them. The group of humans followed Commander Valek down a long passage. Their bare feet touched the cool floor. The aliens around them moved gracefully, showing no shame. For them, this was normal. For the humans, it was a test. Every step felt heavier, every glance sharper. Finally, they entered a great hall. The ceiling curved high above like the inside of a giant dome. Strange symbols glowed across the walls, shifting and changing as if alive. At the center of the hall stood a circular platform. The commander stepped onto it and turned to face them. "On this ship," Valek said, "there is no hiding. We believe clothes are a barrier. They cover not only skin but also truth. To live here, to survive here, you must remain open. Any secret, any falsehood, the ship itself will sense. And it does not forgive." The human stiffened at those words. Dr. Arya's eyes narrowed. "What does that mean? What happens if someone tries to keep a secret?" The commander's red eyes glowed in the dim light. His voice was quiet but firm. "They disappear." The hall fell silent. The humans looked at one another, some pale with fear, others trying to hide their unease, but unease could not be hidden here. Already the ship's lights seemed to flicker, as if reacting to their emotions. Arya took a step forward. "You mean the ship punishes people? It chooses who lives and who dies." The commander's horned head dipped slowly. "Not punishment, protection. The ship was built to guide many species together. Lies destroy unity, and unity is survival. Those who lie are taken, so the rest may live." Harris clenched his fists. "So we are prisoners on a ship that can read our thoughts?" But even as he spoke, a strange vibration filled the hall. The walls glowed brighter for a moment. Everyone could feel it. The ship was listening. The humans fell silent again. The commander motioned for them to sit on the platform. "You are guests here, but remember, this ship is more than steel and engines. It has awareness, it has will. If you live in truth, it will carry you to places no human has ever seen. If you live in lies, it will consume you." The humans obeyed. Sitting on the smooth floor of the platform, their minds raced with questions. Why would any species create such a vessel? Why trust such a strange rule? And most of all, what truth was the ship waiting to uncover from them? Above their heads, the ceiling flickered with holographic stars. Galaxies shifted, forming paths of light across the darkness. The ship hummed, its voice low and steady. It felt like the beginning of a trial with no escape. Dr. Arya clenched her jaw, determination burning in her eyes. She whispered, "We need to know the truth of this place. Otherwise, none of us will survive." The commander's red eyes lingered on her face, as if he had heard her thought. Then he spoke. Again, welcome to the Truth Seeker from this moment forward. Every secret you carry will no longer belong to you alone. The ship pulsed with light. And the journey began, the rule of transparency. The humans had barely begun to adjust to the strange starship when the rule was spoken again. Louder, clearer, and heavier than before. No clothes, no secrets. They were gathered in a long chamber made of glass-like walls. Beyond the walls shimmered the stars. Close yet unreachable, the floor glowed faintly under their bare feet. It was as if the ship itself wanted to remind them. There was nowhere to hide. Commander Valek stood tall, his crimson eyes reflecting the starlight. His voice carried like thunder. On the Truth Seeker, transparency is survival. You will live openly. You will speak openly. You will be seen as you truly are. The humans shifted uncomfortably. Their skin was bare. But it was not their bodies that troubled them most. It was the feeling of being watched, not only by the aliens, but by the ship itself. The ship hummed, a low sound that echoed inside their bones. Dr. Arya Stone raised her hand, her voice firm but calm. You say honesty is survival, but why? What danger does hiding bring? Her words hung in the air. The commander studied her for a moment before answering. This vessel, Valek said, was built long before my kind or yours. It was not made to carry lies. The energy that powers it demands truth. Secrets weaken. It lies feed the darkness that lives within its walls. The humans exchanged glances. Harris muttered under his breath, "Darkness in the walls? What is that supposed to mean?" But even his whisper did not escape. The glowing veins in the walls flickered, as if the ship had heard him. The commander gestured toward a side door. "Come," he said. His long stride led them into another hall. This one was filled with mirrors, dozens of tall glass panels reflecting every detail of their bare forms. As they walked, the humans saw themselves repeated endlessly. They could not look away. Arya's heart pounded. She felt exposed in more ways than one. Each mirror seemed to strip away not just her body, but her thoughts, her doubts, her fears. They echoed in her reflection. The mirrors, Valek said, do not show your skin. They show your honesty. Look deeper. You will see what you are trying to hide. One of the humans, a young technician named Miller, laughed nervously. It's just glass, nothing special. But when he stepped closer, his reflection did not smile back. Instead, the mirror showed him in shadow, his hands clutching something unseen. His face turned pale. What is that? Miller whispered. His reflection's eyes were filled with guilt. He stumbled back, his breath quick. The other humans gasped. The mirrors were not tricks, they were windows into truth. The commander's voice was quiet, but sharp. He hides something, and the ship does not allow it. The walls pulsed with blue light, and the humming grew louder. Miller fell to his knees. No, wait, I'll explain, please. His voice cracked. I only stole rations back on the station. I didn't mean. Before he could finish, the mirrors turned dark. A shadow slid across the glass. The humans screamed as Miller's reflection was swallowed by the darkness. A moment later, Miller himself vanished, only a faint echo of his voice left behind. Arya's chest tightened. Fear clawed at her throat. She forced herself to ask, where did he go? The commander lowered his head. The ship consumed him. Secrets feed the hunger inside it. He tried to hold one back, and now he is gone. Silence fell over the group. Harris clenched his fists. So this ship kills anyone who makes mistakes. That's not unity, that's cruelty. His voice trembled with anger. But the ship itself seemed to answer. The mirrors flashed again, showing Harris his own reflection. This time, his image was clear, steady. There was no shadow. The ship did not take him, not cruelty, Valek said. Order, unity, to survive in the unknown. There can be no walls between us. Every thought, every truth must be shared. Otherwise, the ship decides. The humans looked around at one another. The rule was no longer just strange, it was terrifying. A single hidden thing, and they could vanish into the shadows forever. Arya's mind raced. She understood now why the aliens walked with such calm. They had learned this lesson long ago. They had given up their secrets. She wondered how much of themselves they had lost in the process. The commander led them out of the mirror hall, his voice echoing against the glowing walls. From this moment, you must live bare, not only in body but in soul. If you hide nothing, the ship will protect you. If you lie, the ship will end you. As they stepped back into the glowing corridors, the humans felt the weight of the rule pressing down on them. Their skin was bare, but now their minds felt just as exposed. The journey aboard the Truth Seeker had only begun, and already one of them was gone. Dr. Arya clenched her fists. Her voice was low but steady. If this ship wants the truth, then we will find the truth about it first, no matter what it costs. The ship pulsed again. As if it had heard her vow, the walls glowed brighter, and the journey continued. Strange discoveries. The starship stretched wider than any human city, and still the humans had seen only a fraction of it. Every hallway pulsed with blue light. Every wall hummed like a living heart. To the humans it felt less like a machine, and more like a giant creature guiding them. Days passed since Miller's disappearance, but no one dared to speak his name. His vanishing was proof that the ship listened, and silence seemed safer than questions. Yet silence was heavy. It pressed on their thoughts, their words, even their dreams. Dr. Arya Stone could not rest. She wandered the halls at night when the others slept. Her bare feet echoed against the metal floor. Her skin prickled with the feeling of being watched. Sometimes she thought she heard whispers in languages she did not know, soft voices sliding through the air. One night, she reached a door she had never seen before. Unlike the others, it did not glow. Instead, it stood dark and cold. She touched it, and the door shivered, then slowly slid open. Inside was a chamber filled with strange machines. Holographic screens floated in the air, glowing with shifting star maps. Lines of galaxies stretched farther than any human telescope had ever seen. She stepped closer, her eyes wide. This is not a starship map," she whispered. "It's a memory." The stars moved across the screen like flowing rivers, reshaping themselves into spirals and storms. Each cluster glowed brighter when she focused on it, as if the ship was showing her what it wanted her to see. She saw planets with green skies, oceans made of liquid fire, and cities carved into mountains. All of them distant, all of them forgotten. Her heart raced. She called softly, "Harris, come quickly, Lieutenant." Harris entered, his jaw tight, his eyes wary. He looked at the glowing screens and shook his head slowly. "This isn't a ship, Arya. It's a library." But as they watched, the screens began to change. The galaxies faded into images of beings they had never seen before. Tall figures made of light, with no faces, no bodies, only shimmering outlines. The figures stood inside the ship, surrounding something in the center. Arya leaned forward. "What are they showing us?" The light shifted again, revealing the circular platform in the great hall where they had first gathered. Only now it was filled with hundreds of different species beings with wings, scales, and eyes like suns. They all stood together, bare, united. The ship glowed around them, as if feeding on their honesty. Harris clenched his fists. "This ship has done this before. We're not the first. It's been gathering species for ages." The chamber darkened suddenly. The screens went black, and the humming of the ship grew louder. Shadows stretched across the walls like reaching fingers. The air grew cold. Then the floor itself began to glow with new symbols. The language was alien, but Arya felt the meaning burn inside her mind. The hidden are consumed. The open are carried forward. A shiver ran down her spine. Harris grabbed her arm. "We shouldn't be here, Arya. This place isn't meant for us." But before they could leave, the walls shifted, revealing something buried deep within. It was not metal, not machinery. It was bone, white, massive, curving like the rib of a giant creature. Arya froze. This ship, it's not just alive, it was once something else. Something living. More bones appeared, glowing faintly. The walls of the ship seemed to breathe. The humming grew into a sound like a heartbeat, slow and heavy. Harris stepped back, his face pale. We're inside the remains of a giant. And it's still awake. The ship's light flickered. And suddenly voices filled the chamber. Not one voice, but many, whispering together. They spoke in dozens of tongues, yet the meaning was clear. Do not hide, do not lie, live bare or be. Consumed, Arya's knees weakened. She whispered back, "What are you? Why bring us here?" But the voices only repeated the same words, louder, sharper, as if testing her resolve. Then the floor split open, revealing a crystal core glowing with endless light. It pulsed like a star trapped in a cage. Around it floated thousands of fragments broken. Objects, old bones, shattered weapons. They were offerings, perhaps, or remains of those who had failed. Harris swallowed hard. This is what happens to the ones who vanish. They don't just disappear. They become part of the ship. Arya's heart pounded. She realized the truth. The ship was not just a vessel. It was a grave, a memory, and a teacher. It carried forward only those who obeyed its strange rule. Everyone else was devoured, absorbed into its body, the crystal. Core pulsed brighter. The voices grew louder. Harris pulled Arya away, his voice urgent. "We need to leave now." They stumbled back into the hall, the door closing behind them with a hiss. Arya's chest rose and fell with quick breaths. She looked at Harris, her voice trembling. "This isn't a journey of exploration. It's a trial. The ship doesn't just want us here. It wants to change us." Harris's eyes were grim. "And if we don't change, it will kill us." The ship pulsed again, as if agreeing. The humming grew steady, and the corridors lit up ahead of them, leading them forward into deeper shadows. They were no longer explorers. They were prisoners inside something ancient, something alive, something that demanded everything. And the worst part, they could not escape. Asterisk whispers in the dark, the corridors of the truth seeker grew quieter with each passing day. The humans and aliens walked its endless halls, but silence always followed them. It was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of being watched. Dr. Arya Stone lay awake one night. In her chamber, staring at the glowing ceiling above, the ship's hum was steady, but underneath it, she thought she heard something else. A faint whisper, like a breath against her ear. The words were unclear, but the tone was sharp, like a warning. She sat up quickly, her skin cold. Harris, who rested nearby, stirred and frowned. "What is it?" he asked. Arya shook her head. "Nothing," she lied. But the whisper came again, this time stronger, and Harris heard it too. His eyes widened. "That wasn't just you, was it?" The whispers grew louder the deeper they went into the ship. Sometimes they sounded like voices calling their names. Sometimes they were screams that ended too suddenly. The aliens who had lived on the ship longer refused to speak of them. They only lowered their eyes and walked faster when the whispers came. One evening, the group was ordered to patrol the lower deck. The halls there were darker, the blue lights faint and broken. Shadows moved along the walls, shifting as if alive. The whispers followed them, bouncing off the metal like ghosts. A young human named Carter stopped suddenly. "Did you hear that?" he asked. His face was pale. His eyes darted around the shadows. The others listened, and they all heard it. Miller's voice, faint and broken, calling from the dark. "Help me, please." Arya froze, her chest tightening. Miller was gone, consumed by the ship, yet his voice was here. Harris shook his head firmly. "It's a trick." "Arya, don't listen." But Carter stepped forward, drawn toward the sound. "He's alive," he whispered. "He needs us." The shadows stretched across the floor, curling like fingers toward him. The whispers grew into cries, Miller's voice begging, "Don't leave me. Please, I'm still here." Before anyone could stop him, Carter ran into the darkness. The group shouted after him. Their voices echoed, but Carter's figure vanished, swallowed whole by the black. His scream cut through the silence, sharp and short. Then nothing. Only the ship's steady hum remained. Arya's stomach twisted. She clenched her fists. The ship is using their voices. It remembers them. Harris grabbed her arm, pulling her back. It's feeding on us, Arya. Fear, secrets, even hope. It's all food for this thing. The commander finally spoke, his deep voice shaking the air. Do not follow the whispers. They are the remnants of the consumed shadows. Of what they once were, the ship keeps them, but not as they were. Arya's eyes narrowed. You knew this, and you let us walk into it. Her anger burned, but the commander only looked at her calmly. To live here, you must see. You must understand what lies behind the rule. Transparency protects you. Secrecy feeds the dark. But even as he spoke, the whispers returned. This time they were not Miller or Carter. They were voices of the humans themselves. Harris heard his own voice calling from the dark, repeating words he had never spoken aloud. I am afraid. I cannot protect them. His face went pale. That's me. The ship was not only replaying lost souls, it was reaching into their thoughts, pulling fears into sound. The hallways grew colder. Shadows moved along the walls like flowing rivers. The whispers swelled until every corner of the ship seemed alive with voices. Some were angry, some were weeping, some were begging for mercy. A group huddled close together, trying to shut it out. But Arya could not silence them. Every word scraped at her mind. Every whisper felt like it was meant for her. Then one voice cut through the noise, different from the others, calm and sharp. Arya. She froze. Her name echoed in the dark, louder than the rest. Did you hear that? She asked. Harris shook his head. No, what is it? Her breath quickened. It called me by name. The commander's red eyes glowed faintly. The ship chooses, it listens more closely to some than others. If it calls you, then it has already seen something inside you. Arya's chest tightened. She did not answer. Instead, she pressed forward, forcing herself to move through the shadows. The whispers followed her every step, louder, closer, as if crawling under her skin. Finally, the group reached the end of the dark corridor. A massive door stood before them, black and sealed tight. The whispers swirled around it like a storm. The commander raised his hand. Beyond this door is the Chamber of Secrets. Few are allowed to see it, but now the ship demands it. Arya's pulse raced. She could feel the weight of the whispers pressing against the door, every voice begging, warning, or calling her forward. She took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the black metal. Then let's see what this ship is hiding, she said. Her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. The door shuddered, the whispers fell silent, and the darkness before them began to open. Asterisk secrets uncovered. The black door opened with a slow, heavy groan. The sound rolled through the corridor like thunder, and for a moment, even the whispers were silent. Beyond the doorway was a chamber unlike anything the humans had seen before. It was vast, round, and endless. Its walls were covered in glowing symbols, not just one language but hundreds. They shifted and rearranged, alive, whispering meanings into the minds of those who dared to look. At the center of the chamber stood a tall column of crystal, glowing with a cold, white light. Around it floated objects, broken helmets, shattered weapons, bones of many species. The air was thick with a hum that rattled their bones, a sound like a voice too large for words. Dr. Arya Stone stepped forward, her chest tight, her eyes locked on the crystal. Inside it she saw movement, shifting shadows and faces, human faces, Miller's pale eyes, Carter's twisted scream. Reflections of the ones who had vanished, trapped in the light. She gasped. They're here. They never left. Harris stepped beside her, his jaw clenched, his fists trembled as he whispered, "The ship. It keeps them." The commander's red eyes glowed faintly in the chamber's light. His deep voice filled the air. Now you see what the ship is. It does not simply kill. It collects every secret, every lie, every soul that cannot live bare is taken. They are absorbed into the memory of the vessel. Arya spun toward him, her anger breaking through her fear. You knew this all along, and you still brought us here. Why? The commander's expression did not change, because it is the law of survival. My people learned long ago, if you hide nothing, you are safe. If you lie, you become part of the ship. That is the price. But Arya shook her head. No, this isn't survival. This is slavery. The ship doesn't just want honesty. It feeds on us. It uses us to keep itself alive. The crystal pulsed brighter, and the chamber trembled. The floating bones and broken objects began to spin. The whispers returned, but now they were screaming. The trapped voices of Miller, Carter, and countless others filled the room. Begging, accusing, crying. Don't hide, don't hide. Paris staggered back, covering his ears. It's too much, it's inside my head. His knees buckled, and he fell against the wall. Arya forced herself to look deeper into the crystal. Her heart pounded. She saw flashes of memories that were not hers, wars fought on alien worlds, betrayals between leaders, lies that had doomed entire civilizations. Each secret fed into the crystal, turning into energy that pulsed through the ship. Her voice trembled, but grew stronger with each word. This ship doesn't care about unity. It cares about fuel. Secrets are its food. Lies are its power. That's why it forbids clothing. That's why it demands truth. It needs us exposed so it can feed. The commander's horns lowered, his body tense. His voice rumbled like stone. Do not speak against the ship. It is older than all of us. It will hear you. But Arya stepped closer to the crystal, fire burning in her eyes. Then let it hear me, she said. Her voice echoed through the chamber. If this ship wants our souls, it will have to fight for them. The chamber shook violently. The light from the crystal flared. The voices screamed louder. Faces pressed against the glowing surface, their mouths open in silent cries. Harris pulled himself up, shouting, Arya, stop, it's waking something. The walls rippled like water, and new symbols formed, symbols that none of them could read. The commander's face twisted in fear for the first time. No, this cannot be. It is speaking directly. The voices merged into one sound, deep and endless. A single message carved itself into their minds. The hidden are consumed. The open are carried forward. The ship endures, because the truth endures. Arya's knees weakened. The message pressed against her mind like a storm, forcing its way inside. She tasted metal in her mouth. Blood dripping from her nose. Harris grabbed her arm, pulling her back. It'll kill you if you resist, he said. The commander raised his hands toward the crystal, his horns glowing faintly. His voice broke into a chant in his own alien tongue. The light dimmed slightly, as if answering him. The human stared in shock, realizing he was not just a commander. He was a servant of the ship, bound to its will. Arya clenched her jaw. She whispered fiercely to Harris, we can't let it control us. If we give in, we'll be nothing more than fuel, like the others. The crystal pulsed again, sending out a wave of energy. The floating bones and broken weapons scattered like leaves in a storm. The humans and aliens fell to the floor, covering their heads as the ship's hum grew into a roar. Arya pressed her hands against the floor, forcing herself to rise. Her voice cut through the chaos. This ship may hold secrets, but it cannot hold me. I will not be consumed. The chamber fell suddenly silent. The light dimmed. The whispers stopped. The crystal's glow softened, as if waiting, watching. Arya stood trembling, her body weak, but her spirit burning. She met the commander's glowing red eyes and whispered, we need to uncover all of its secrets, or it will take us one by one. The commander said nothing, but the fear in his eyes was answer enough. Asterisk the great test. The truth seeker did not wait. The moment they left the crystal chamber, the ship began to change. The halls twisted like veins, stretching into paths that none of them had seen before. The lights flickered, the air grew heavy, and the hum of the ship deepened into a steady heartbeat. Dr. Arya Stone felt the floor tremble under her bare feet. She glanced at Harris, whose face was pale and tense. It's starting, she whispered. The commander's crimson eyes narrowed. The ship is testing you now. If you fail, it will consume you. The group was forced into a narrow corridor. The walls curved in close, pressing against them. Shadows ran across the surface, twisting into shapes of faces. The whispers returned, sharper now, repeating words they had never spoken aloud. Harris froze when the wall spoke his voice back to him. I am weak. I cannot lead. I will lose them all. His chest tightened. His fists trembled. That's not true, he said, but his voice cracked. The walls pulsed with blue light. Pressing closer, the commander growled, Deny nothing. Confess, or it will take you. Harris's jaw clenched, sweat rolled down his face. He closed his eyes and shouted, I am afraid. I can't protect anyone. I'm scared of failing them all. His voice echoed, raw and heavy. The walls stopped moving. The blue glow softened. The whispers fell silent for a moment. The corridor opened ahead, allowing them through. Arya's heart pounded. She understood now. This was not a simple journey. It was a trial of their deepest selves. The ship wanted more than honesty. It wanted confession. It wanted their most hidden fears dragged into the light. One by one, the ship tested them. A young alien with silver skin was forced to admit that he had once betrayed his people to save himself. Another confessed she had abandoned her child. Before joining the voyage, each truth was painful. Each confession stripped them bare. When they resisted, the shadows grew teeth, pulling at their bodies. When they spoke their secrets, the ship let them live. Finally, it was Arya's turn. The walls closed around her. Her reflection appeared on every surface, dozens of her faces. Staring back at her, each whispered in her own voice, You are not here to help them. You are here to prove yourself. You want to be the hero, not the savior. Her chest tightened. Her breath came fast. No, she whispered. That's not true. But the voices only grew louder, screaming. You want glory, not unity. You hide your ambition. The walls pressed closer, cold against her skin. The air thinned. Harris shouted her name, but his voice was drowned by the storm of whispers. Arya's knees buckled. She pressed her hands against her head. I. She forced the words out, her voice breaking. Yes, I want to be seen. I want to prove myself. I want to be more than a scientist who is forgotten. But I also want us to live. I want us to survive together. Even if I am weak, the whispers stopped. The reflections faded. The walls opened again, and she collapsed into Harris's arms, trembling but alive. The commander's voice rumbled low. The ship has accepted you. His red eyes glowed faintly. But remember, it does not forgive twice. The corridor widened into a great chamber filled with shifting light. Dozens of doors appeared around them, each glowing a different color. The hum of the ship grew louder, vibrating inside their bones. A voice filled the chamber, not from the commander, not from any of them, but from the ship itself. You have confessed your fears. Now you must confess your truths. One door will lead you forward. The others will consume you. The humans stared at the doors. Harris cursed under his breath. It's a trap. How? Do we know which one is real? The commander stepped forward, his horns glowing. The ship does not want answers. It wants choices. Choose with truth, not fear. One by one, they were forced to step toward the doors. The silver-skinned alien stepped through one, and it closed behind him. His scream echoed for a moment. Then silence. He had chosen wrong. The group's fear grew. No one wanted to move. Arya's heart pounded as the ship's hum deepened. She could feel it pressing inside her mind. Waiting, testing, she took a deep breath. If it wants truth, then I will give it truth. She stepped toward a door glowing with pale white light. Her voice echoed as she spoke. I don't know if I am strong enough, but I will not hide anymore. She touched the door, and it opened silently. The chamber shook. The other doors vanished. The survivors were pulled through the white light. Together, falling into another chamber that glowed like the heart of a star. The ship's voice filled their heads again, steady and endless. You are not yet worthy. The final truth waits. Arya looked around, her body trembling. Harris stood beside her, his eyes wide. The commander's face was unreadable. The chamber pulsed with power, and they all knew this was only the beginning of the final trial. Asterisk, the final revelation. The survivors stood inside the chamber of light. Their skin glowed under its brilliance, shadows swallowed by the endless white around them. The floor beneath their feet was transparent, and through it, they could see galaxies spinning, stars burning, and black holes breathing in silence. Dr. Arya Stone's heart pounded, her body trembled, but her eyes did not look away. "This is it," she whispered. "This is the core." Harris stood beside her, his fists clenched, his face pale. The commander's crimson eyes glowed brighter than ever, his horns catching the light like blades. The chamber pulsed with a rhythm that was not sound but feeling. It pressed against their bones, their minds demanding attention. Then the voice came, not a whisper, not an echo, but a flood, filling every thought. "You have walked bare, you have confessed, you have survived. Now you will know the truth of what carries you." The white light cracked open, and behind it was no machine, no crystal, but something vast and alive. A colossal heart, still beating, its veins stretching. Into every corridor of the ship, each pulse sent waves of light through the chamber. Arya gasped, "This ship! It's alive!" The truth struck her like thunder. The truth seeker was not built, it was grown. A living being wrapped in steel, carrying the souls of those it had consumed. The voice filled them again. "I was born before your world's new fire. I am memory, I am judgment, I am the vessel of truth." The humans shook with fear. Harris's breath came fast. "It's a god," he muttered, "or something worse." The commander bowed his head. "It is no god, it is the keeper. My people called it salvation, others called it prison. But all who enter must face it." Arya's voice shook but grew stronger as she spoke. "You take lives, you feed on secrets. Why? Why force us to strip ourselves bare?" The heart glowed brighter, its veins stretching like rivers of light. "Because truth is survival, unity is survival. A single secret is rot, a single lie is death. To carry you forward, I must consume what divides you. I am not your destroyer. I am your test." The words crashed through her, heavy and sharp. She felt her mind bend under the weight of them. Harris staggered, clutching his chest. "It wants us to surrender everything," he said. "Even who we are." The heart pulsed again, and visions filled the chamber. They saw countless species before them, aliens with wings of fire, creatures made of stone, humans yet unborn, all standing together. Bare, stripped of shame, stripped of secrets, all united under the same rule, all carried forward. Then the vision shifted, showing those who resisted, their bodies dissolving, their voices turned into whispers, their memories locked forever inside. The ship, a warning carved into eternity. Arya's chest burned, her voice was steady. "And if we refuse? If we choose to keep even one secret?" The chamber shook, the voice grew louder. "Then you are consumed, and your truth becomes mine." The survivors fell silent. Each of them felt the weight of the choice pressing against their souls. Harris looked at Arya, his voice low. "We can't win against it. We can only obey." But Arya stepped forward, her bare feet glowing on the transparent floor. Her eyes locked on the massive heart. "No," she whispered. "Obedience is not the same as truth. You don't want honesty, you want control. But truth is more than confession. Truth is choice. Truth is freedom." The heart thundered. The light flared so bright that it blinded them. The voice screamed through their minds, shaking every bone. "You challenge me?" Arya did not back down. Her voice rose above the roar. "Yes, I challenge you. Because truth without freedom is only another kind of lie." The chamber cracked with light. The floor beneath them shattered into stars. The galaxies spun wildly. The survivors clung to each other, their bodies shaking, their voices drowned by the roar of the living ship, and then silence. The white light dimmed. The chamber steadied. The heart slowed its beat. The voice returned, softer, heavier. "You speak as those before you spoke, You are not the first to resist. Some are consumed, some endure. The test is not yet ended. The chamber walls faded, revealing the endless corridors once again. The ship's hum steadied. Calm but watchful, Arya stood trembling, her body weak but her spirit unbroken. She turned to Harris, her voice quiet. We are not passengers. We are not prisoners. We are challengers. If we survive, it will not be because the ship allows it, but because we chose our own truth. The commander's eyes burned with something new, fear or respect. He said nothing, but his silence spoke louder than words. The truth seeker pulsed, carrying them deeper into the unknown. The stars beyond shimmered, waiting, and the final question lingered in their hearts. Would they endure as chosen, or fall as whispers in the dark?